Today, as you can see, we're going to be discussing how to fix faded paint. We're going to be using an assortment of machine polishers, compounds and pads today. As you can see, we've got the dual action, we've got the rotary, we've got the wireless, the wired. We're also going to be using Cartec refinish final cut, and we've got the flex heavy cut compound next to it as well. This is what we mean by faded paintwork. As you can see, this looks very dull, it's dark, it's completely faded, there's no vibrancy to it, there's no gloss to it. Today we're going to be changing that. As you can see, it's quite yellow as well, it's not white anymore. You can see, particularly under spotlight, just how dull it is as well. The spotlight looking directly into it, it's not very clear, it's not very pinpoint, it's not very sharp. It just looks very hazy, very faded, and just ugh. We're going to start off by taping all the plastics up. Now, interestingly enough, a couple of weeks back, I actually ceramic coated these plastics, which is why they look really, really dark and really vibrant. They look miles better than they did before. We're starting off here with a green pad on the rotary machine. This is going to give us maximum cutting power, and as you can see, it's pretty much like an eraser on this faded white paint. It's going from yellow to white in pretty much 2 sweeps with this rotary. Now, delving into the machines a little bit deeper, the rotary is going to cut a lot quicker than the dual action will. It rotates, it doesn't oscillate as well, which builds heat, and therefore it's got more cutting power. That's why we're using this alongside the heavy cut compound to get through that first little bit of oxidization on the paintwork to really, really bring out the color. Bring a little bit of gloss back to it, but most importantly, reduce that fading by literally probably 95%. It's doing most of the work, put it that way. You can see me here glitzing over it with a 5-inch still into the areas that the 5-inch will comfortably go to. I've also got a 3-inch rotary to the side of me, which I'm going to get out in a second and tackle the more delicate and more difficult to reach areas. It's essential when using the rotary to keep the machine moving, never leave it on one spot sitting still. Like I said, it builds heat, and it does a good job of building that heat and a good job of cutting really quickly. This is actually why most people end up going through their paint when they try and machine polish themselves. You need to make sure that you're going over each section, you're keeping the machine on the move at all times, don't leave it sitting still. Just make sure you're moving it, keep it nice and firm, keep it nice and steady, and just work your way around it. You need to apply enough pressure to actually keep the pad onto the paintwork, but not too much pressure, otherwise you're going to potentially cause some damage. We're now going to move on to the second stage in this process, which is the yellow pad on the rotary, which is going to give us a little bit more gloss. It's going to take out some of the heavy cutting marks we've just inflicted with that green heavy cut pad on this machine. Now I want you to pay attention to where I'm going over this panel where the wing meets the door there. Did you notice how it didn't actually make a difference to the door, but then all of a sudden when I cut across this bit, it does. Now, if I'm honest with you, if you'd gone ahead and started with the yellow pad to begin with and ignored the heavy cutting stage, you'd actually still have been able to get a decent result on most areas, Van. However, there are some sections where it still requires that heavy cut, and to go ahead and do the middle stage ahead of doing the heavy cutting stage is a real waste of time because you're not going to get the result that you really want. So with my experience being what it was, I knew to just go ahead and start with a green pad straight away and get the nice result we wanted to get first time round. And as you can see, this wing is now literally looking complete night and day compared to that front door. Flying in here now with the final stage. We've got the DA out, the little PXE80 from Flex. I love this little machine, she's my baby. I've got the 3-inch pad out because I'm going to try and get into some of the more difficult areas, like the corner where it meets that little arch, the top bit around where the plastics are, near the front bumper, etc. This is a microfiber pad sitting on top of that machine. I'm using Cartec's finishing compound, the 9000, and what this is effectively going to do is it's really going to bring out the gloss in the paintwork. It's going to remove any of the lighter marks that were left on the rotaries. It's literally going to leave this paintwork nice, crisp, clear, glossy and pinpoint. Really is bringing the vibrancy out in that white now, and this is the final step. It's just as important as the heavy cut stage, it's just as important as the middle stage. If anything, this is actually really, really important. It's often where a lot of detailers, a lot of painters, a lot of valeters, etc., where they skimp out, and that's a real shame because this is what's going to leave that paintwork looking proper with no buffer trails in it, no haziness to it. It's going to look crisp and how it should do. That is literally a million times better. Look at that front door in comparison to the front wing. Now you'll have to excuse the sudden light changes here where the sun obviously comes in and out, typical Britain, but you can see how much shinier that panel was than it was to begin with. I'll quickly cut into that now. Take a look at the top of the wing, you can see the difference in the gloss as I flicker back between the two of them. abracadabra. That's that pillar done now as well. How much better is that? Woo. Just working our way around now to the passenger side. Now, funny enough, this van actually used to belong to Enterprise, and you can still see some of the Enterprise lettering down the side of the vehicle. It's also incredibly dull, incredibly dark. There's loads of fingerprints all over it. This vehicle really did need some TLC, and funny enough, she's actually mine. It's taken me a hell of a long time to actually get the opportunity to do what I'm doing to the van. I really did enjoy myself on this occasion. And as you can see, the process is going to be exactly the same as what you've seen prior. I won't bore you with the voiceovers of it. I'll just let you sit down, enjoy it, and actually just crack on. And I'm going to get sticky with it. For those wondering what pads I'm using the Zvizzer heavy cut green pad, the Zvizzer yellow medium pad, and then I believe that Mcrofbre one was a Cartec refinement microfiber pad. I have also used the Roots yellow pad in that process as well, and I believe I did also use the blue Zvizzer pad at one point. I mean, seriously, look at that for a 50/50. That's absolutely outrageous. You can see the top is completely glossy, completely white, very shiny. The bottom of it is, well, it's crap. Let's put it that way. Now, if you're thinking about giving this a go yourself, might I recommend you start off with a dual action machine with a heavy cut pad on it rather than a rotary. The rotary is, if I'm honest, for the more advanced user of machine polishers. They're not the easiest of tools to use. They're certainly more difficult than a dual action, and for a first time user it might be a bit of a challenge. With machine work, there isn't really one answer fits all, to be honest with you. There's going to be multiple different polish and pad combos that you could use to achieve the same sort of result that you see here. Every car is going to be different, and funny enough, even the panels on those cars can be different. The back bumper will be different to the rear boot, the bonnet will be different to the front wing. It's all completely different, and if I'm honest with you, it's where experience comes into play of knowing what to use on each panel, on each car, etc. If you've done it before, you'll know what to attack it with this time. Similarly, it's worthwhile doing test spots as you go around to figuring out what works best for that panel. Keep checking your work with a spotlight, and if you are going to use a refinement microfiber pad like you see me using here, it's vital that you blow it out with a blower or you use a cleaning brush. Just make sure that you're cleaning that pad after every panel to make sure you're getting the best from it and not leaving marks in it that you don't want to leave in it. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, drop me a comment and subscribe to the channel. I've got a fair few other how-tos, I've got a couple of vlogs for you to enjoy. Most importantly, say hello, enjoy any of the videos, and I'd appreciate your feedback. Have a good one, guys.